December 2008. In a Manhattan penthouse, an old man sits his two sons down and tells them the truth. The investment empire he built over decades, the one trusted by celebrities, charities, and banks around the world, is a lie. All of it. It's one giant fraud, and it has been for years. The number he confesses to is almost too large to say out loud. $65 billion. This is Bernie Madoff, the man who ran the biggest Ponzi scheme in history for decades in plain sight, while regulators looked right at him and saw nothing. To understand how he got away with it, you have to understand who people thought he was. Bernie Madoff wasn't a shady outsider. He was Wall Street royalty. He helped build the NASDAQ stock market and served as its chairman. He sat on regulatory boards. He had an office in a gleaming Manhattan tower and a reputation for quiet, boring reliability. In a world of loud gamblers, Madoff was the safe pair of hands. And his fund had one magic quality that made everyone want in. It never lost. Year after year, in good markets and bad, Madoff delivered steady returns of around 10 to 12%. Not spectacular, not greedy, just calm, consistent, month after month, decade after decade. When the market crashed, Madoff was up. When everyone else panicked, Madoff was up. It was, people said, like a Jewish T-bill, as safe as a government bond, but better. Getting in was hard on purpose. Madoff didn't chase investors. He turned them away. You needed a personal introduction. You didn't ask questions. And that exclusivity made people desperate to hand him their money. Charities poured in their endowments. Retirees handed over their life savings. Banks in Europe funneled in billions. Universities, Hollywood celebrities, Nobel laureates, all of them trusted Bernie. Here's the problem. He wasn't investing any of it. A Ponzi scheme is the oldest financial trick there is, and it's beautifully simple. You don't actually invest the money, you just take cash from new investors and use it to pay fake profits to the old ones. As long as more money keeps coming in than going out, the illusion holds. Every investor sees their account statement growing, feels rich, tells their friends, and the friends bring in more money to keep the machine alive. Madoff's genius wasn't the scheme, it was the discipline. He kept the fake returns modest and steady because wild returns attract attention and steady ones attract trust. He built a whole floor of his office dedicated to manufacturing fake trade confirmations and account statements, documents for trades that never happened. To the outside world, it looked like a real, functioning investment firm. Inside, it was a printing press for lies. And for decades, nobody with the power to stop him did. Because here's the part that should make you furious. People warned them, loudly, repeatedly, years in advance. A financial analyst named Markopolos looked at Madoff's returns and knew, within hours, that they were mathematically impossible. No strategy on earth produces a line that smooth. He couldn't replicate the results. Nobody could. So Markopolos did the responsible thing. He took his evidence to the Securities and Exchange Commission, the regulator whose entire job is to catch this. He handed them a report with a title that left no room for doubt. The world's largest hedge fund is a fraud. The SEC investigated and cleared Madoff. Not once, multiple times, over nearly a decade. They interviewed him, poked at the edges, and walked away satisfied. Madoff would later admit he was stunned they didn't catch him. At one point, he was sure the game was over and they simply let him go. The name on the door, the former NASDAQ chairman, the man who helped write the rules, it was inconceivable to them that he could be a crook. His reputation was the disguise. The badge of legitimacy was the hiding place. The one thing a Ponzi scheme cannot survive is a moment when everyone wants their money back at once. In 2008, that moment came. The global financial crisis hit, and Madoff's investors, many of them stretched thin elsewhere, started asking to withdraw. Billions in redemption requests poured in, but there was no pile of investments to sell because there had never been any investments. There was only the cash from the newest victims. and it wasn't nearly enough. The machine that needed money flowing in was suddenly bleeding it out. Madoff knew it was over. So in December 2008, he confessed, first to his sons, who worked at the firm, and, by their account, had no idea. His sons did something that tore the family apart. They turned their own father into the authorities. Within a day, the FBI arrived. Bernie Madoff was arrested in his apartment, admitting it was, in his words, one big lie. The reckoning was staggering. In 2009, Madoff pleaded guilty to 11 federal charges and was sentenced to 150 years in prison, a number meant to send a message. But the deeper number tells the real story. That $65 billion? That was the fantasy figure on the account statements money investors thought they had. The actual cash people had handed over and lost was closer to $17.5 billion. Real money from real people gone. And the human wreckage went far beyond dollars. Charities that had trusted Madoff were wiped out overnight and forced to close. Retirees who thought they were secure went back to work in their 70s. A respected foundation lost its entire endowment. And the tragedy reached inside Madoff's own family. 2 years to the day after his father's arrest, his son Mark took his own life. There is one thread of light. A court-appointed trustee named Irving Picard spent years clawing money back from those who had withdrawn fake profits and recovered over $14 billion, most of the real principal, returning it to victims. It's one of the few frauds in this series where the ordinary people got a meaningful share of their money back. Bernie Madoff never left prison. He died there in 2021. So here's the lesson of Madoff, and it's the most useful one in this entire series. We are trained to fear volatility, the ups and downs that make us nervous, but Madoff proves the opposite. The thing that should have scared everyone wasn't a loss. It was the absence of losses. Returns that never dip, a line that only ever goes up, performance that's suspiciously, impossibly smooth, that isn't safety. That's the signature of a fraud. If it never goes down, ask why. If nobody can explain how it works, assume it doesn't. And if the only reason you trust it is the reputation of the person selling it, remember that reputation is exactly what Bernie Madoff was selling. Next episode, a fund meant to enrich an entire nation. A fugitive who used the stolen billions to buy yachts, art, and even to finance a Hollywood movie about Wall Street greed. That story is 1MDB. Subscribe to Finovec so you don't miss it. I'm Marcus Webb. Follow the money.